Welcome, artist, into the studio and this meditative painting experience I'm calling Painting Without Rules. This is an opportunity for you to take the time to breathe, unwind, and reconnect with the beauty of creating. This is your space to let go of expectations, explore new materials, and simply play. Think of it as art therapy for the soul, where the process matters more than the product. So let's step into the wonder of creativity together. As you could see from the clips in the intro, I have multiple items that I have surrounded myself with, and that's step one in this process. Get yourself some of your products, maybe even pastels you've never used, some mediums you've never used, and surfaces you've never used, and it's playtime. So make it easy to be able to grab things, and that's what I've done. Now, this is a new creative journal that I recently found. I was really wanting to find a great journal for pastel painting and using wet mediums as well. And this was my first time using it. It's called The Creative Journal by D.Y. Lusions. And I'll go ahead and tell you in advance, I loved it. But as I always say, use whatever you have. The goal of this is to be stress-free. You don't want to be stressing over a real expensive surface. We're just playing. Isn't this neat how it has these little folders inside? I'm not quite sure what I would put inside of these, but it's neat to have them. Now, let me share with you the thing that I really love about this journal. It's the pages. They are so thick and sturdy, and they will take wet mediums so nicely. You'll see me doing that as I make my own pastel surface. And I want to share a few other products with you. There will be links to these products in the description of this video, but these binder clips are very helpful when you're working with a journal like this that doesn't have a spiral binding. Spiral binding notebooks, they usually lay quite flat, but if you've got one that's bound like this in the center, you really need something to hold them open. So I just got these off Amazon as well, and they worked great. They come in different sizes, this little multi-size pack. Sorry for the shadow of my phone here, but that gets corrected in just a minute. So as you can see, I'm just binding up the sides so that it stays nice and flat, and I'm going to be painting on this entire surface, both sides of the pages. And again, I stress you guys get creative with any type of way you want to do this, but I'm just sharing my process, and you can of course recreate from my tutorial or do something that's totally on your own. I can't wait to see what you do. If you're a patron of mine, this is going to be so fun for me. And real quick, I have a favor to ask of you. If you don't mind, pretty please, would you click that like button? It really helps YouTube to share this video more often. Also, subscribe if you haven't already, and please leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about this lesson. Now, I am going to be using Gesso. You hear me talk all the time about clear gesso, which I use to make my own pastel surfaces. And here's the clear, and here the left hand has the clear gesso, the right hand has the regular. Now the clear gesso has a little bits of grit or sand in it, and it's clear. That's why I often use it to make my own pastel surfaces. But regular gesso is white, and that's why I often say, don't use this. If you've done an underpainting, you don't want to put white gesso on top of it. And what is this tool? It's called a brayer. I got these also on Amazon, and I got them in two sizes. And they're just really great for applying gesso. And what is the gesso for? It's to create a substrate or a surface for me to start painting wet mediums on. So I am just using these brayers, and I'm speeding this up. You get the idea. And I put on a little bit too much of the gesso, but here you can see it's obviously white, it's not clear, and it's going to be great for almost like making your own canvas. Think of it that way. And it's going to allow me to really work and add multiple mediums and even pastels on the surface. So I kind of had to maneuver my little binder clips, and it worked great. I was really happy with this. I used a blow dryer to get it nice and dry, and I gotta tell you, I am such a fan of these pages. They really didn't buckle at all. And now, before painting with pastels, and I still have to kind of make my own pastel surface with some texture and grit with that clear gesso, I'm going to play with underpaintings. And if you're a patron of mine, you know that is this month's theme. And I'm going to be playing with some of these colors. Now, the first one is a Daler Rowney watercolor ink. Quinacridone Magenta is the color, and the other one is an Amsterdam acrylic ink, and the color is Gesso Orange. I didn't use that turquoise one. This is another Daler Rowney ink that I used. It's called Indigo. It's a deep, deep, dark bluish purple. So I am making a really pretty underpainting using the pretty magenta pink and the orange, and I was wondering, should I do this with a brayer or with my textured brush that's also a really inexpensive product on Amazon, and I ended up just using the brayer. I also decided to add that yellow you see in my left hand there. It's another watercolor ink, and it's cadmium yellow deep hue, and you could use any yellow, any magenta, any orange if you decide to recreate, or you could come up with your own color altogether. And now I'm just having fun. I decided just to drip these colors right onto the surface that once again has been prepped with the regular gesso, the white gesso. So I have a nice sturdy surface to work on, and I'm just kind of moving it around. Again, this is playtime. I find often your results end up more fun and more impressionistic when you play like this. So I am using the smaller brayer here. Oh my goodness, look at this color. Isn't it gorgeous? Now I did find that the small brayer, see how the edges are kind of making marks, but I didn't mind that because this is about texture and fun and creativity, and I'm not trying to just blend or mix these colors to death. I'm trying to create something that's like our title for this month's theme, Magical Beginnings, something loose and carefree and fun. I also wanted to share that this is a stage where you might decide to use some stencils. Yes, I've used stencils before with my underpaintings, and they're just really fun. And I'm once again just blowing this dry with my blow dryer. I have a pretty hot blow dryer that it doesn't take all that long to get it dry. And I am now going to use the other acrylic ink that was the indigo color to do some impromptu or intuitive painting. I often use these little glass dishes, but I also have this plastic tray that you see I have used before. And in this case, I'm just using it to have some water to kind of dilute my acrylic ink. I like to have some paper towels handy to control the water. And this is a brush that I call it a puppy dog's tail. It really looks like a puppy dog's tail. And when you add water to it, you do get a bit of a point to it, but it is a type of brush where you almost can't get too serious. It forces you to be loose. So I can't remember the name of it, but I'll have a link for it in the description of this video. So I'm just adding a little bit of this beautiful indigo acrylic ink. It looks black because it's so dark, but it does have a pretty deep blue. Well, indigo, you know, most people know the color indigo. And you'll notice in this lesson there is no reference image. I just worked from my imagination. I did previously look at some images from unsplash.com of some poppy fields, and I didn't have any one in particular that I wanted to do. I saw a combination of images that I liked, and so I just kind of came up with this intuitively, and that's a goal of this lesson, is just to be free and have fun. And I know if you're a beginner artist, sometimes that's, well, always it's harder to do if you're a beginner artist, but it gets better. And I don't want you to be so focused on this becoming a final piece that you're already focused on, oh, who am I going to share this with? And I'm going to frame it, or I'm going to put it up in my house. This is just for fun. It doesn't matter if these get thrown away. So I think eventually you will get to where your pieces will be ones that you'll be like, wow, that really is better than some of the work that I did and took so much time with. By the way, if you're a patron of mine on my Patreon page, you have already received your extended version of this video, which is all real time. Now, here on the Monet Cafe channel, I am going to continue sharing this process. I will speed it up when I get to the pastel section. Now, if you would like to join my Patreon family, it's super easy. It's only $5 a month, and you can cancel at any time. And I love the fact that I can see your work. It's a beautiful family, lots of contests, lots of community, and a real happy place. Now I'll continue with this very, very simple sketch using my indigo acrylic ink. And notice how I'm holding the brush. Now this is an overhead view, obviously, but I'm holding it kind of high up on the brush, not like you're writing. You know how you cinch up on a pencil? This is a better way to stay loose is by just holding your hand up a little higher, almost letting the brush just kind of dangle a bit. And as I mentioned, I don't have a reference image. This is mostly just out of my imagination. I saw a few images of poppies that I liked, and I wanted them free and flowing and just, again, intuitive. That's part of this whole process. I decided to give a background of the upper part will be the sky, but I gave a little mountain range there. And then I'm going to have some deep grasses that these poppies are radiating out from that you'll see me do right now. And the way I'm going to do that is to kind of liquefy this acrylic ink, the indigo color, a little bit. I'm adding a little water, and I'm just giving a darker value down deep where these grasses will be growing. And now to get this ready for soft pastels. One of my favorite methods is to use clear gesso, and you're going to see exactly right now why you use clear gesso, on your surfaces rather than regular gesso. If I was using regular gesso here, well, first of all, it's white. It would cover up my entire surface. And also, regular gesso doesn't have the little bits of sand in it that creates that texture that your pastels are going to be able to hold on to. And I am going to speed this part up because I think you get the idea. But I'm using my small brayer again and just blending it around and trying to get a fairly even coat with this, but it doesn't matter. I could have even used my textural brush if I wanted to get more texture. I found I was wrestling with that center part. The edges of the brayer were once again making lines. So I just got a wide flat brush to kind of smooth it out. Now watch what happens when I blow this dry. Look how the color came back. It truly is clear gesso. And when I rub my hand across it, I get that nice gritty texture that I know my pastels are going to hold on to, allowing for multiple layers. Now you're about to see me do something that I always warn against. I had so many of my products sitting around me, and I was just chilling, getting into this moment, and I wanted to add a second coat of clear gesso, and I didn't look at the bottle. Remember how I say they look so much alike? And right now at this point, I'm all happy, and as soon as I started applying, oh no. I was like, I can't believe I did this. I've warned against it so many times. So what I did is I ran to my bathroom and I wet some paper towels. And I started frantically trying to get this gesso off. You can see how much water I had to add to really get this off of the surface. Now, this ended up being a good thing. You know, that happens sometimes, Romans 8:28, if you know that verse. And I was able to see how truly durable this surface is. And now it's time to apply the right product, clear gesso. I, of course, did this after I really applied some heat with my blow dryer to make sure I had dried up all that water I had to add to wipe off the regular gesso. So fortunately, my artistic meditation, peaceful moment didn't get thwarted by my mistake. All right, so I finished my application. I blew it dry once again, and now it is time to finally add my beautiful soft pastels. I'm using various brands of soft pastels, and I often have a little tray like the one you see above me here it's kind of like my in-between palette, I call it. And it's a little tray where I add many of my pastels after I'm finished with a painting. I just kind of quickly organize them by color and value, but instead of putting them in my main workshop palette. And it gives me a nice selection of color and value if I want to do an impromptu painting like this. And as you can see, I'm keeping a very loose and gestural and textural application, mostly because the surface is pretty textural, but this is about freedom and joy and being intuitive and just enjoying the moment. Like painting like a kid again is how I like to think of it. I'm going to give you some steps in the description of this video to establish your meditative creation experience with just some tips of things I recommend, like putting on some music, having all your supplies ready, carving out a time where you can actually do this, because, it's not very relaxing if you've got to be somewhere or you're going to be interrupted. But it's a beautiful experience. So enjoy the rest of this to some lovely music, and I'm going to be back at the end with some more tips. Enjoy. I must say, other than my little accident with the regular gesso, this process was such a beautiful experience for me. I did have on my own music that I love. Typically, it's Christian music or classical. I really love the music of Hauser. He plays the cello, Hauser. It's fantastic. And this was just an experience rather than a physical product. I was loving the looseness of this piece, and even though I felt the desire to add some purple and some pretty little turquoise pops, carving out some negative spaces here towards the end, I didn't want to overwork this. I do love adding a bright, kind of darker valued purple to the centers of poppy flowers. I felt it just gave a beautiful sense of color echoing, connecting some of the other elements in the painting. But I was feeling really good about this, so I wanted to make sure I didn't overdo this. The experience felt like it was coming to a close. I pray your meditative experience will allow you to step away from structure and simply let go and enjoy. I hope you're inspired to try this kind of meditative, intuitive painting for yourself, even if it's unfamiliar at first. There's something deeply healing about letting the colors guide you and about creating without pressure or perfection. So, give yourselves permission to play and just see where this journey takes you. I wanted to zoom in so that you could experience the looseness, the gesture, and the texture from my technique of making my own surface and using a bold and exciting underpainting. I was so happy with the looseness of this painting and the somewhat abstract quality. I pray I've inspired you to try some meditative painting yourselves. And you can find hundreds of free lessons here on my Monet Cafe channel. Again, become a patron if you'd like to get the extra content and all of the goodies that come with being part of my Patreon family. As always, friends, God bless and happy painting.